protecting us all from reality. The Kate Dalley Show starts now.
The reason that all your computer screens are blue lit, the reason none of them are red lit, the reason none of them pay attention to circadian biology is because that original technology was developed in a government program that Bobby Kennedy knows about, and I happen to know about because I went to medical school at LSU. For those of you who've never heard about Operation Paperclip, you think it's all conspiracy theory. So at Tulane Neurology and Tulane Neurosurgery in the 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s, the CIA started a program there where they would do all these crazy things to monkeys. The CIA wanted to see how they could control things utilizing different things like drugs and things like that. Where the neurosurgeons got involved, which is my clade, we would drill tops of the heads off, put wires into the thalamus, put electricity in there, and kind of see what kind of behavioral changes we could have. One of the guys that was in that program was a guy named Professor Delgado. When he saw that we could control the behavior with the wired device, he said, what if we do it wirelessly? So he checked it in monkeys and checked it in bulls, and it turned out you can do it wirelessly with RFID chips and semiconductors. Then the CIA took it to the next level. They said, well, since this is electromagnetic radiation, what if we did it through light through screens? And it turns out you can. And that's the reason why all your computer screens have the frequencies they have. So why is this all important? Well, the person that set this meeting up between me and Bobby is the patent attorney that made sure that Google and Meta have those things so they can control the things that we all do. Where did the original idea come from that started off in MKUltra with the CIA? You're going to be surprised when you hear this. It came from the mafia in Las Vegas. They wanted to build a new city in the desert. They enclosed it all, blacked out the windows, invented slot machines that were blue lit. And they found out that they didn't have to take a gun, stick it in your face to steal your money. Then they even got smart. They said, let's give people free alcohol while they're doing that. And they found out they got the money quicker. And that's when the CIA got the idea to start this program. That's really how it started.
All right. Getting down to the truth of things is an amazing prospect, isn't it, in this day and time? And thank you, mainstream media, from protecting all of us from reality and filling our heads with junk. So what we're going to do today, Warren Farrell is joining me next Friday. We're going to be talking about fatherhood and motherhood and women and men and all those things. And of course, Sean Spicer next week. That'll be an interesting interview. And I got a lot of guests next week. I also have a fantastic guest I've invited back on today's show. I'm actually really excited to do this again because I haven't had him on for quite a while. Dean Sessions from Universal Model. If you want to get behind truth in science, Dean's your guy. Dean has written a wonderful series on science and science that actually makes sense. And a lot of aha moments are to be had when checking out Universal Model. On your screen, if you're watching this show on X American News or you're watching the video on Rumble, you will see some of the covers of the books. And Universal Model is something that if your kids, your grandkids, and you would actually really benefit from the series because it's about truth and science. Now, we were told to trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. And so much science is so bought and paid for in this day and age through our tax money funneled into grants, funneled into science, that it's hard to know what to believe anymore. And so this is why I invite Dean on, and it's a departure from politics. Are we crashing the system to reinvent the system into digital tyranny right now? We are, actually. And so instead of going there today, which I could, but I didn't want to, actually. I wanted a break from all of that because I think we understand where it's headed. I thought science would be such a wonderful thing to really peruse right now with Dean Sessions because this series is so important. There's also evidence of the flood. There's evidence of so many things biblically, what we could talk about today, too. Dean, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, Kate. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm so glad you're on with me. I always find it really exciting to talk to you. You always add so many layers of truth, and things start to really make sense whenever I have you on when it comes to science. And so everyone's going to learn something today. I'm sure of it. I could have you on every day of the week, and we would learn something new. And so can you give us a summary, a rundown of universal model?
Sure. The web page is universalmodel.com. If anyone is interested and wanted to go look up what we're going to be talking about right now. There you will find we have two books published. They're about 800 pages apiece. And we also have a summary book on there. And we do have some workbooks for homeschoolers and other kids that want to, study on their own and that type of thing.
Right.
But universalmodel.com has been about a 35-year project I've been involved with. And I have a number of researchers and folks that have helped me over the years. And basically, in a nutshell, one of the easiest ways to understand this is a new millennial science. That means a science for the next 1,000 years.
Love it.
The first way to understand this new science is to recognize what our old science is. Old science is what they call modern science. Anytime you look up a textbook or look up any magazines and everything today, they call science today modern science. Now, the word modern is a real problem because if you want true science, when is truth ever modern?
Yeah.
See, it's not. Truth doesn't change. It's the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. 2 times 3 was 6 today.
Right.
It was yesterday, and it will be tomorrow.
Unless you want a really, really wonky bridge, you need to really stick to the numbers instead of saying what you feel the number should be, which is what it's evolved into now. But go ahead. Yes.
Yeah. So there's fundamental things like every living human being has water in their body. Okay, that's a fundamental truth that all living cells actually have to have water in their body. So the first thing we have to come to is understanding there are truths. They exist, okay? And it's a matter of us finding them and defining them.
Right.
So the universal model is unique because it's the very first time that we have a science that has new natural laws. And modern science today doesn't look for natural laws. We have in each one of our books, there's about 2,000 quotes from scientists themselves out of the books they've written or the journal articles they've done. And so this is a very, very researched, documented books, okay? Actually, there's 3 volumes involved. The first volume is called The Earth System. And in this book, we go through and everything about the Earth, including how rocks are made. We actually make rocks. We're going to talk about this a little bit today, the geology side of it, also fossils. The second volume comes into play because it's the living system.
Okay.
The living system about everything living. And it's all about the age of everything and about how fossils are made. We actually demonstrate how fossils are made. We have new natural laws. Yeah. And with these experiments, people can see for themselves how fossils are really made. Now, let's go back to modern science just for a second, because what you have in modern science, we call this the big picture of modern science. It's really simple. Matter of fact, what we're talking about today is for everybody. You don't have to be a scientist to understand what we're talking about.
Right.
This is simple stuff. All my children, I have 5 kids, 18, 19 grandkids now. Wow. I can teach all of them this.
Well, it's fascinating to me, Dean, because so many of the things you're going to say today are going to ring so true for people. And it's really going to honestly have an aha moment for people because they're going to go, that's what I thought. And that makes way more sense than what we've been handed down in the public government school education process.
Absolutely.
And so people are really going to have those aha moments. And I'm excited for that.
Yeah. So let's go first back to if you go take a class right now in archaeology, biology, chemistry, physics, astronomy, geology, paleontology, all these ologies, that means the study of each of these sciences, okay?
Right.
What they will teach you, now they don't tell you this in the classroom because it's too obvious, but this is, you can find, we have quotes in our book from the scientists themselves stating this, okay? And this is what they say. Human beings came from an ape-like creature, which came from bacteria, which came from chemicals, which comes from a big bang, which comes from nothing.
Right.
You and I and everything else came from nothing.
A big bang that did, I'm sorry, but that could have never taken place. That just could have, I mean.
Well, if you ask anybody that has any logic, okay, and this is what, we're supposed to be able to reason one with another using logic, okay? And this is the problem with modern science. It's a philosophical idea. It's no longer scientifically proven. Now, understand, I'm not saying everything in science is incorrect, okay? Our books have the things that are incorrect, which are basically their theories.
Right.
We call these pseudo-theories, false theories taught as fact.
Right.
They teach in schools right now that human beings came from an ape-like creature. The problem with that is that there's never been one scientist. Now, remember, I've been doing this for 35 years. I've researched thousands of journal articles and the books and talked with scientists from all the fields. And this is what the UM is so different in, is because I'm actually, when people ask me, I used to just say I do scientific research when I was doing this for the first 20 years before we published anything. But now that we've published and we're open, I still have a volume 3 that I'm working on, so I haven't really gone public too much. I've been on your show a couple times and a couple other shows and stuff, but I have volume 3, which is the universe system. This is where we go into all new physics, chemistry, and astronomy. And this is fascinating. This is what I'm working on right now. Got a couple more years. I'm finishing it up, but I'm right in the middle of volume 3. And each one of these books has over 2,000 images and diagrams. You've seen them. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So this is very, very, it's why it's called universal model. It's universal. It affects all of our lives, the physical side of our lives. And by the way, if you have any listeners that are religious anyway, and it doesn't matter whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a Jew, Hindu, it doesn't matter what your background is. If you're religious, you recognize there's a certain world history, okay? And we go into the human side of all this. In volume 2, we have the world history model. And all of this science that we found, just so you know, confirms what we find in world history. It confirms what's in the Bible. It confirms what everyone else has already believed all along, and we demonstrate this.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. And so we're going to go to a break. We're going to come right back. And just to kind of give somebody a taste, you're looking at the Grand Canyon. What are those layers, right? And so Dean actually talks about those layers. And then, of course, that good old Bible that we all have really comes, really kind of springs forth into action. And you can kind of see how things from the past might have happened. Well, I'll be right back. More with Dean Sessions. And, of course, use the code UMKate at Universal Model and get a little discount. Be right back on Kate Dalley Show.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
All right, welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. We're always going to talk about everything on this show, which is the reason I love it. I love doing it, is that any topic is open. And I love the topic of science because all we ever heard was trust the science. And then, of course, that science in the medical field betrayed us so deeply and has that I think it's really smart to really look around and say, okay, what else makes sense? And I love Dean Sessions and Universal Model for that reason. He is my guest today. And I also just wanted to mention too, please go to cozyearth.com and get those Mother's Day gifts right away as well. And you'll feel really good about already having that in your possession because those sheets and that loungewear is amazing. Use the code Kate. You're going to get 40% off. And you can't score a better deal on cozyearth.com. And trust me, the woman in your life has heard of Cozy Earth because it's all luxury, like the finest in bedding. And so what a treat you're going to give her for Mother's Day. But nail that down right now and code Kate, okay? All right, so I have Dean with me, and so I know you've always been kind of working on new things, and of course, we got to talk about the Grand Canyon. We've got to talk about all these things, and so where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the rocks? Do you want to and what some of the lies told about the formation of rock, or where do you want to start?
Well, yeah, there's so many areas that we could start, but I think it's the rocks below our feet are the foundation, right?
Right.
And so let's ask a really simple question. If you take a geology class, what they're going to tell you is that we live on a magma planet.
Mm-hmm.
This planet is round because it came from a liquid of melted rock. And the problem with that, there's a big problem with that, is what's the heat source?
Yeah.
In the universal model, we have fundamental questions. These are called FQs. Okay, it's an acronym that we use constantly. A fundamental question such as, where did the heat come from? Where is the current heat coming from for the center of the earth to be hot?
Mm-hmm.
Answer, there is none.
Right. Mm.
So I've talked to many geologists and many different scientists about this and confronted them with this, okay? And this is a huge problem. Every once in a while you'll get one that say, well, it's from some nuclear source, blah, blah, blah. And I tell them very politely, my wife and I, we met in Hawaii. We walked the beaches when we were there. We got engaged there. And I said, do you think we wore a nuclear suit?
Mm-hmm.
No, we didn't. We wore a swimsuit. And that's because we walked down the beaches, and even though they're all volcanic rock for that island and everything, if that lava had come really from a magma source that was radioactive, the radioactive wouldn't have gone away, okay? So they know, the honest scientists know, that there is no heat source. Nobody has seen it.
Mm.
Anytime you have a claim by modern science,
Mm-hmm.
such as one species changing to another species, just go try to find someone that's seen it in the wild or in a laboratory, okay? They have not. All you have to do, the evolution would be going on everywhere all the same time. And we had to go through and look at hundreds and hundreds of articles, and sure enough, we found that it was a fraud, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That evolution isn't happening. The same thing with the magma inside the earth. It's not hot. It's not there. Now, you have to have an answer for where lava comes from. That's something we can observe. But nobody has ever observed magma.
Right.
Real science is about observation and verification. And once you've verified something and you can predict it, by the way, the power of true science is prediction. And that's what we do in the UN. And once we make a prediction that nobody will ever observe magma in the center of the earth, then all you have to do is then verify that. And any time that somebody has not observed something and they make a claim, well, now we can question that claim. So now let's talk real quick about where real lava comes from.
Okay.
We have one study in the very first chapter. It's called the Magma Pseudotheory chapter. That's the science chapter in volume 1. And we actually go there and show that one researcher found 600 cases that every single time there was a lava flow, before the lava flow that is observed by human beings taking pictures or whatever, or taking measurements of the lava, every time beforehand there was an earthquake. The reason there was an earthquake is because when the plates are rubbing together under millions of pounds of pressure, you can just rub your hands together with 100 pounds of pressure.
Right.
Keep rubbing and rubbing and rubbing right now, and they get hot.
Okay, we're going to come right back on that. More with Dean Sessions, Universal Model. You're going to want to go there. Kate is the code to get a deal. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my artist studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. go finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Show at your service. I've got Dean Sessions from the Universal Model. Believe me, this series is so amazing. My kids have this series, and I'm telling you, things are going to make a lot more sense to them instead of the science that's sold to them in the public education system, which really doesn't make sense if you think about it. This science, when you really get down to the nuts and bolts and truth of science, it's kind of amazing what you'll find. So I really appreciate all of Dean's work and 35 years in this to really get down to the bottom of what's truthful. And I also just wanted to mention, go to northpoleflagpoles.com and order a flag. Order a flag for your RV. There's a installation kit too that can come with it. You can order with it for an RV, for your truck, for your car, and for your home and for your business. It's amazing. They also have the gold in light of the Gold Star families. In honor of those, they have the muted, beautiful gold flagpole. And you can order your flag. And I love this guy. This is the flag guy, northpoleflagpoles.com. Tell him I sent you. He's amazing, total patriot. You'll love this guy. And he does the best work. He's actually in my hometown. And I really, really love what he's doing out there. So go to northpoleflagpoles.com and check it out. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. All right. So I've got Dean Sessions with me. Okay, Dean. So you were talking about heat, right? Or earthquake. Earthquake.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so we were running, talking about the fact that nobody's ever seen magma inside the center of the earth.
Okay.
And we have to ask ourselves, okay, so we do see lava, it's real.
Right.
And before every lava eruption, there's an earthquake. And it turns out through our research, we found that when you have what they call earthquake swarms, which are small little ones, you typically can't feel them,
Okay.
but they're down below and they're going quickly. That friction is creating heat. And it's only in the crust. This is not down in the center of the earth where they think there's a liquid. There is a liquid, by the way, in the center of the earth. We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay.
And we know that through seismic waves. Okay.
All right.
By the way, one thing for your listeners, I should just say right up front here is we're not saying that all of science is wrong.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
There's lots of correct things, but to understand that technology is not science. These are two different things. And modern science has tried to connect them. Okay.
Yeah.
So when we went to the moon with a spacecraft and everything, that's technology. Yes, we do use some correct science when we're doing stuff like that, but like the phone I'm talking on right now and a computer in front of me, that's technology. Okay. These are tools that help us understand nature, but they themselves never will tell you how the craters on the moon got made.
Ooh.
They don't.
All right.
Now, what modern science says how those craters got made on the moon is through impact craters. And it turns out in the the Universal Model is for short. We have demonstrated that over 99% of the craters on the moon and the craters on the earth were not made by impact. So these are steam explosion craters. We have done more research and have more information on the cratering process than anyone else in the world. I've read, like I said, hundreds, even thousands of books and articles on this process. And we've gone in and surveyed all the craters here in the Western United States and actually done research on craters around the world. So it's another important component of understanding the Earth, because both the moon and the Earth, there's researchers that are the most famous crater researchers saying, if you don't understand the cratering process, you'll never understand how the Earth was made or how the moon was made. And they're absolutely right with that. That's correct. But the challenge they have is that the process did not come from this impact. There are rocks up in space, but how they got there and how rarely they actually fall in the ground and create a hole in the ground is a very important concept that we actually have demonstrated in the Universal Model. So I want to make it really clear, the Universal Model in each of these volumes, each one has about a dozen new natural laws. And one thing that'll help us understand the problem with modern science is this. When we were in school, even if you're in school right now and you take a science class, we heard about the scientific method, right?
Right.
So everybody knows that scientists use this method. Well, what is the method? All you have to do is Google it, and you're going to get millions of ideas about the method, but nobody has a universal method. So the universal model, one of its concepts that it does is it goes through, it creates a 6-step universal scientific method. We start with a theory, but guess what we end with? A natural law. This is the way Newton did it. It's the way Kepler and Galileo, these famous scientists that did real science hundreds of years ago, okay, they ended up with natural laws. We all know the law of universal gravitation, for example. When I drop a rock, it falls at 9.8 meters per second squared. That's something that I can use and make a prediction. Remember, the power of science is prediction. And I can predict when I drop something that's X amount of meters high, I'll know, I can tell you exactly in a microsecond when it's going to hit the ground because there's a natural law for that. Well, all the nature has natural laws, all of them, all throughout it. But the problem is, if you go ask your mother or your grandmother, okay, in the last 100 years, how many new natural laws have been discovered in science?
Good point. Wow. Good point. Okay.
This is a big FQ, fundamental question, okay? Well, it turns out that we can go all the way back a century, and there has not been one. So now we have 3 more questions to ask. Do we have more scientists today than 100 years ago? Way more scientists, way more. Do we have more money going towards science today than 100 years ago? Way more. And do we have more technology, the tools that help us understand science, more than 100 years ago? Way more technology. We all know this, okay? This is simple, okay? So where are the new natural laws? If we have more money, more scientists, more technology, they don't exist because modern science can't even look for a natural law. Do you want to know why?
Why?
Because a natural law is simply a statement of truth. Now we come back to a very important thing. Who is truth? What is truth? See, we all know, if you're religious, that God is truth.
Right.
See, truth is the knowledge of what is, was, and will be. That's the definition that's in the that you won't find in any other science book anywhere.
Boy,
truth is knowledge of what is, was, and will be.
You know why?
Yeah,
you know why I love that, Dean, is because in all of the over 38,000 hours of research I've done into politics and government and all things, okay, that's the one thing that remains true is God. That's the one thing. So everything else is subject to question, but God remains the truthful thing that I can't poke a hole through. So kind of amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But think about it for a moment. If God really exists, the definition of God is that he knows all things. This is why he's true. Remember, truth is knowledge of what is, was, and will be. So the 2 times 3, it's always 6. And we can verify it's 6 because we can divide 6 by 3 and know it's 2. See, we can reason with mathematics one with another, just like there's water in the human body. These are things that we can all verify. We can see with our own eyes. It's real science. So and it's not difficult.
So you can actually get a glimpse of all of what he's talking about because he goes into weather, he goes into the magma pseudo theory, he goes into the dark age of science, he goes into the rock cycles, he goes into all of this and so much of this. I mean, this is just going to ring true for so many people. We're going to go to a break, but give us, when we come back, give us something that science seems to be settled on that you question and want to say, well, you might want to re-examine this because it seems as though if you go back to the 1950s, what we were settled on has been proven to be maybe not as true as they wanted science to say it was. And so when we come back, let's poke a hole through something concrete. We'll be right back. Kate Dalley Show, more with Dean Sessions, universalmodel.com. You need to go check this out. It's really cool. Be right back. And the code is UMKate. Be right back.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillow is only $14.98. Queens, $18.98. King size, only $1 more. Body pillows, $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Electricity will make it weird.
All right, welcome back, Kate Dalley Show. I've got Dean Sessions with me. We're going to launch in. There's so many things to talk about. Even salt, even the flood, even the Grand Canyon. I mean, there's just so many things. Now, the phone lines are open. Dean's going to take your calls and think about some really good questions you have about science. And there is no dumb question. Let me just say that first off, okay? He'll take any questions and just wants to clarify and be able to relate to you what they've demonstrated. Not even just questioned, but demonstrated. And that's the big part of universal model and learning true science is being able to demonstrate. So welcome back, Dean Sessions, and universalmodel.com. You can use the code UMKate. And let's talk about something that we thought was settled or we just don't talk about, even just like the Grand Canyon. Let's bring that up. I think this is so fascinating.
Sure. There's so many fun things to talk about here, and they're all relatable. It's so neat because once you've learned the concepts in the universal model, and they really are simple, it's written for everybody, okay? It doesn't matter what your background is in. When you drive down the road and you come to one of these road cuts, where they've cut on the side of the road, you're going to look at it completely different than you've ever seen before.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Grand Canyon.
So let's talk about this a little bit. First, let's go back to the real problem with the Earth being a magma Earth. See, the most abundant mineral on the continents is quartz. Okay. Quartz is something that it's a clear crystal. We've all probably heard of it. It's very important in technology, for example. Quartz watches were the first way we started to be able to have watches that kept really good time before the wind-up one and stuff. But quartz they used in radios to be able to talk back in the World War II. We needed those. And it turns out that the technologists learned how to grow quartz. And then from this, we actually use this process to actually grow our own rocks. Now, most of us have heard of the magma planet, but we've never heard of how to make your own rock. Real briefly, I want to state something. If you take a torch, and this is a propane or acetylene torch, and you heat it, 2,500 degrees, every rock that you go to melt, like a piece of granite, has mostly quartz in it and feldspar and mica. That's how granite's made. When you go to melt your rock, guess what it turns into? This is something so simple and basic. And if you're looking through a window, you're going to know. Or if you have glasses on, okay? Quartz turns into glass when it's melted. So a simple concept such as this is when you take quartz-based rocks, the majority of them on the continents, and you melt any of them, they now turn into glass. Glass is very different than quartz. Quartz is a crystalline object, whereas glass is what they call amorphous. So it's because it cools very quickly and it doesn't crystallize in the same way. So what happens is, even though it's a clear crystal, pure quartz is clear and glass is clear, glass has been melted. Okay, so it's very, very different. It's 1,000 times less conductive of heat. For example, it's much more brittle than quartz is. So glass has the same chemical composition of quartz, but they're completely different physical properties. And now, why this is important? When you go walking out in nature and walk on rocks, are you walking on glass or are you walking on pieces of granite, for example?
Ooh.
You're walking on rocks that have quartz in them. They're
Right.
crystals.
Right.
Okay. So this is very important. They're not glass. The earth was not a melt. If you go and look at actual volcanic material that comes out and look under at a microscope, you'll see glass there. Okay. And these lava flows, the lava and so forth, is if it came from a quartz-based sediment, it's going to have what they call silica, and it's going to have glass in it. So this is very, very important. When you go around the world, you only find melted material where there was earthquakes, and the earthquakes come where there's fault lines and there's friction.
Okay.
This is all interconnected. By the way, I need to mention something really quick because this is interconnected to a bunch of fields of science. It's something called earth tide. You can Google this. This has only been known, though, for about the last 20 years, but it's not properly or popular to be taught in science classes. Earth tide is very simple. We know that the tide of the oceans goes in and out. We all know this in school because of the moon, right?
Yeah,
the moon is there's a gravitational pull on the water, and it's where we get our tides from. So let's ask a simple question. Does gravity pull on just water from the moon? No. It pulls on everything, right?
Right.
So that means it's also pulling on the rocks, on the crust.
Okay.
Well, it turns out geologists know that the crust of the earth is floating. Okay. And it's floating. It's only a couple miles or kilometers thick. It's not, the earth is 8,000 miles across, but it's only a couple kilometers to the crust, and then it's floating. Well, to float, it has to be on a liquid. That liquid is water, Kate. I know you know this, but a lot of your listeners are not going to know that wherever they're out on the earth, wherever you are on the earth right now, if I bring a drilling rig and start drilling, it's only a matter of time before I'm going to hit water.
Right.
There's aquifers everywhere underneath us. Okay.
I love this. Yeah.
And this is so important because we live in a hydro planet.
Yeah.
And we demonstrate this in the universal model. This is we're going to get to the universal flood chapter here.
Yeah.
That's going to be very, very important because that gets into the whole earth history and back to our human beings and where we fit into all this.
Okay.
But to understand the flood, we need to understand that the earth as a sphere is this. Up in space, when astronauts are in the space station and they squeeze out of a bag some water, guess what that water does?
What?
It turns into a sphere right in front of them. You can go on, watch YouTubes, and see this water gushed out right in front of them, turns into little spheres, and if they push them together, they'll make a bigger sphere because up in the space station, there's microgravity. It means it's very, very small. And because you have this water right now here on the earth, when you have a drop coming out of a faucet, right, it comes down in a droplet, but it's spherical on the bottom. But because it's still connected to the water pipe, that's where you get the droplet. But when that drop is falling, okay, I just had hail out here in my yard. I had and those hails were all round. Okay. And when you have hail and raindrops, they're round until they hit something and splat. Okay.
Right.
This is because water, when there's low microgravity, is in a sphere. And it turns out that there is water found, and we have the quotes in the book. You don't have to believe anything Dean Sessions is saying right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You go to the book and you will see quotes from scientists from every discipline confirming what we are saying right now.
Oh, I love
it. And they will tell you there is water, not just on the earth, not just on the moon, not just on Mars or Pluto, or all the planets, including the sun, have water on them.
Okay, we're going to come right back. And I'm going to take your calls. Phone lines are open, 888-673-1450. Kate Dalley Show, if you're listening in the afternoon live on live radio. Or watching this on Rumble or xamericanews.com or on X. Listen, call in with your question, and we'll talk a little bit. Well, we have a lot to talk about. We'll be right back.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Super woke. When I grow up, I want to be hired based on what I look like rather than my skills. I want to be judged by my political beliefs. I want to get promoted based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended by my coworkers and walk around the office on eggshells and have my words policed by HR. Words like grandfather, peanut gallery, long time no see, no can do. When I grow up, I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder.
Just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist. I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work.
Oh, man, I love that commercial. All right, welcome, Kate Dalley Show. I have quite the treat for you, and the phone lines are open. So you can ask a really quick, pointed question. Make sure it's just a very quick question, okay? There is no dumb question. And that's what I love about Dean is game to answer anything. And I think that's kind of cool. Dean Sessions is with me. Universal model is the topic. We're taking a break from politics and digital tyranny coming in. And I really wanted to focus on kind of the truth because we get to a point where all we ever hear is settled science. And I'm sorry that I've got a problem with that. We don't, if you know what is settled and by whom. And that's probably the most important thing to talk about. But I'm going to first take a phone call. Then we're going to talk a little bit more about natural law and get into the flood and get into salt and get into all kinds of stuff in this hour. Let's take a quick phone call, Dean Sessions. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, hi, Kate.
Hi.
I'm calling from Boston.
Hi.
And love your show, and I love this guest.
Thank you.
I'd like to know what his thoughts, if he's familiar with the work that Lagrange did on water.
Okay.
And how Lagrange says that water exists in these supermolecules that store living energy. And,
okay.
I'll let him just answer that.
Perfect. Thank you. Great call. Thank you. Okay, Dean.
Yes.
Lagrange?
So we actually have a water air model, which is a chapter in volume 3 that I'm working on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And water is one of the most important, in volume 1, you learn that water is primordial matter.
Okay.
What does primordial mean? It means the very first.
Love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
It turns out that we explained how rocks are not melted from a magma earth because we'd be walking on glass everywhere. That's not the case. But where do rocks then come from? Well, we actually make rocks. And this is in the hydroplanet model. We show how rocks are made, and we do this out of water.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
So we can take it's a high pressure autoclave. So we get up to about 13,000 PSI pressure, and we have this as a pipe. It's a vertical, and inside the pipe there's water, and we put some crushed quartz in there, and simply. You have to put a mineralizer in there, and there's a couple other ingredients, a certain amount of air you have to have in there, but it's a recipe. It's just like making cookies.
Okay.
It's not complicated. Once you put it all in there, and then we put it in our oven, the heat causes the air to mix in with the water. Okay. And it actually, with the mineralizer that's in there, it dissolves the quartz. Now, why this is important is because once this quartz is dissolved in the bottom of the autoclave, it's about 400 degrees Celsius. When it gets to the top of the autoclave, about 325 degrees Celsius, because heat rises. This is convection. When you have a stove or a fire, the smoke goes up.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Hold on, caller. Go ahead.
And so what happens is this causes the dissolved quartz to go up to the top of the pipe, the autoclave. And when it's up there, because it's cooler, it precipitates out a solution. That's the technical term for it crystallizes. We put little seed crystals up there, and we can double the size of our rock in one day.
Ooh, wow. Okay.
So
Interesting. Okay.
we make
All
rocks.
right.
Now, this is very, very important because now, for the very first time, the universal model is going to show something no geologist has ever been able to show, and that's how sand is made. We
Okay.
not only can make sand, but the little teeny crystals that are mostly quartz crystals, we can make sandstone. How does sand dunes out there just over time, millions of years, and pressure turn into a rock?
Right.
They have no explanation for this. Well, we actually make sandstone. So we show you how this is done. We make rocks, and this is critical that it's out of water. So back to his question concerning water. Water, by the way, when you put sound into it, you can actually create light.
Ooh.
This is called sonoluminescence, and it's a process that's not fully understood. But the point is, water was in the very first of the creation. Okay, this earth is a sphere because it was a ball of water. And out of that water came all the minerals, and then all the living things that we have on the earth today all came out of water. You were born out of your mother's stomach, out of embryonic fluid, out of water.
Such a great point.
Every living thing has to have water to survive. So all living things come out of water, including all the minerals that are non-living. Everything comes from water. So yeah, we have by the way, water is not just, they don't understand. I'm going to say something right now. Water is that the world doesn't know. It's a crystal.
Ooh. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
They don't understand. They don't understand because when you crystallize things out of water, the reason it does that is because water is a crystal itself. And so this is where all the primary crystals come from is from water.
We've got a caller, and I also just wanted to mention water. You know, there's bottled water. Aquapana is a really good bottled water to drink because it's got a lot of minerals in it: calcium, potassium, magnesium. And I'll talk about that more next week, everybody. I was going to talk about it today, but I'm going to talk about it next week. But here's the deal. It comes out of a well from the 1500s that's never ending. It's forever giving the water, and the water still exists today. And that tells us a lot about going underground for water and not believing your local politicians and your state politicians and the feds on the fact that we're in a drought all the time and that government controls water. So therefore we're in a drought so they can control it more. We're going to talk more about that, but I do have a caller just waiting for you. So thank you for being patient, caller. And we are going to get to the flood and salt and all kinds of stuff. Go ahead, caller. Quick question for Dean Sessions.
Gee, how come I never learned that in high school?
Right?
Chemistry.
Exactly. Love this.
Like, and now I know now I know what political science really means.
So true. Okay, quick question.
I learned a lot of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, really quick.
Yeah.
So if the final state of energy is heat, and we're constantly burning fossil fuels, and the sun is radiating heat down on us, why isn't our Earth constantly warming with all that energy being consumed? According to the second law of thermodynamics, right? Heat energy can neither be created nor destroyed. You understand?
Okay. Dean?
Good question. Let me repeat the question back.
He's going to repeat it. Here we go.
So with all this energy coming from the sun, you're asking, why isn't the Earth consumed? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, with heat.
Okay, with heat. Okay. Go ahead, Dean.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll take it off the air.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So that's a very good question. Let's go back to a fundamental thing of understanding something about the sun, that modern science does not understand. You have to do some deep research to find this, but it's called the corona problem.
Okay.
And I'll be actually talking about this in volume 3, which I haven't published this stuff. So this is for some people that might be on your show that are already a UMer. This is stuff that's in volume 3 that's not published. But the corona problem is something that the surface of the Earth, the surface of the sun is about 5,000 degrees. Okay. That is something that scientists have pretty well confirmed. Okay. But there are cold spots, by the way. These are where there's something called sunspots, and we just had a big one a week or two ago. that if it would have, the coronal mass ejection, the CME, if it would have been blown out and come towards the Earth, this could have caused a really bad thing. As a matter of fact, it was about 15 years or so ago that the Great Lakes area, there was a grid system up there in part of Canada, was actually, a lot of the transformers are blown out because of this coronal mass ejection.
Right.
So the sun is an important part of us understanding it. Matter of fact, if we did not have the energy source around the Earth, this is normally called a magnetic field. Guess what? It's not a magnetic field. It's an electric field, and I'll get into that in a second here. But the electric field of the Earth protects us from the solar radiation that's coming. Now, if we go out into the corona, which is the atmosphere of the sun, guess what the scientists have found? It's 1,000,000 degrees. How do you have a 5,000 degrees on the surface, yet out in the atmosphere, it's 1,000,000 degrees?
Right.
If the heat source is coming from the center of the sun, which modern science believes, do you see when you're at your stove and it's 300 degrees, right, on your stove, and you're right there next to it, when you walk out into your living room, does it go to 1,000 degrees? No.
Yeah,
See,
you're right.
this is called the corona problem. This is why they don't understand the sun. This will be coming out in volume 3. But the whole point is that there's so many things that modern science doesn't understand. This is a good point. By the way, the Earth's not going to get heated up or so forth, because the way it was created, there was an atmosphere put around the Earth. This is very, very important.
Right.
Human beings were created to live on this Earth. And any other Earths that are Earth-like planets that other human beings would be on are going to be this Earth size. They're going to have water on it. They're going to have everything very similar to this Earth.
Right.
And that's very important because of evolution. I mean, I was a Star Wars fan when I was growing up, okay? But all these figures and people that were on it, that's all fake. They use evolution to try to say you can communicate with these other animals and things and all that. That's all fake. It's not real, okay? I love Musk. I like what he's doing with Dodge, in politics and so forth, but he is not correct on human beings going to the Mars and ever living there. Okay. Yeah. You may say you can send a human being there, but will they come back or not? It's typically a 3-year flight.
I don't know. What about the belts? What about the belts?
Well,
that's a whole nother that's a whole nother topic. We got to go to a break, but if you want to answer that when we come back, curious question, curious minds want to know. We'll come right back. More with Dean Sessions coming back, universalmodel.com. And the code word you use is UMKate, and you're going to get a little discount there. It's really great to have these in your house. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show, KateDalleyRadio.com.
Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my artist studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. But I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Kate Dalley Show. So happy about that. And of course, it's a Friday show. We're talking about science and kind of getting our mind off politics for just a moment, even though it has become very political in this this world to talk about, the gobbledygook of human-caused climate change and everything else. So we'll try to get into as much as we can. My guest is Dean Sessions for the entire show today. I had to do an entire show with Dean because there's no other way to cover all of this, to tell you the truth. I also wanted to mention allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. You can get right to that link right on KateDalleyRadio.com. I'm not the biggest fan of pharma, to tell you the truth, just being honest. And I do like having, though, some antibiotics. I do like having ivermectin, and I do like having amoxicillin as a couple of things in my arsenal of preparedness and to take right now as far as ivermectin and getting rid of parasites. This is crucial. And you can get these doctor scripts because they have doctors in-house, and it's right here in America. You can get these scripts sent to your door, and you can order as many refills as you want. I love that. So the code is Kate10, and allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. allfamilypharmacy.com/Kate. Take advantage of this right now while supplies are really good. I'm telling you, supplies can change in a heartbeat. I also wanted to mention, too, as we're starting out this segment, this is a shorter segment of the show, but I just wanted to say, their list of settled science just cracks me up. This is considered settled and well-established within the scientific community, says AI. Dean was talking about technology versus science earlier. The Big Bang Theory, the theory of evolution by natural selection, the germ theory of disease, the structure of DNA, all these things are considered done and that's it, and don't question. And I crack up because I'm thinking, well, the chart of evolution is definitely should be backwards, by the way society's going. But it's very interesting that they say this is settled science. What do you say about settled science, Dean?
Well, I'm glad to be back here with you again,
Yes.
Kate. And I think one part that's important with this is for your listeners to understand is we didn't quite finish previously. We were talking a little bit about why scientists can't find natural law. And I'm going to tell you that right now.
Mm-hmm.
The reason is scientists have taken their own surveys, and we have this in volume 2, 2 different surveys they took. And from these surveys, we found out that in the leaders of modern science, more than 9 out of 10 of the scientists acknowledge themselves that they're either agnostic or atheist.
Ooh, that says a lot. That says a lot, because these are ideological theories, not science, the ones I just mentioned.
Exactly. So here's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Because a natural law is simply a statement of truth. Remember, truth is knowledge of what is, was, and will be. When you drop it, it falls the same every single time, 9.8 meters per second squared. This is the law of gravity. Because a natural law is a statement of truth, and because God is truth, he has all knowledge, that means that a scientist can't look for truth. And we have their own quotes in our books. We have their quotes stating that we don't believe in truth, that truth that doesn't exist, whatever. But this is why they have not been able to find one natural law in over 100 years. Our 3 volumes, when they're all complete, will have over 4 dozen new natural laws. And the reason this is important is we actually use a universal scientific method that ends with a natural law. And we use this method to show that it's correct in all the fields of science. So archaeology, biology, chemistry, they're all interconnected. And that's why I'm an omnologist. I'll tell this really quick story as you ring up another caller there. My daughter, when she was in middle school, came home one day and said, "Dad, I'm having a real hard time in my science class." I said, "Really? Why?" She goes, "Well, we went around the class and we were asking what our fathers did. And I mentioned, you're a scientist." And then teacher said, "Well, what kind of scientist are you?" And she says, "Well, I know you do geology, Dad, but you also do archaeology, biology, chemistry." And I didn't have an answer for her. And I looked really stupid. So I finally figured out an important word is omni, means all things. And so when you're an omnologist or omnology, it's the study of all things. And by reading the your listeners will literally become an omnologist. You will understand truth.
It's all
because see, a lot of the answers, you just brought up water previously, right? And these minerals in water.
Right.
Most of your listeners don't understand that the minerals come from microbes that are in the water. These are good microbes that die. And it's their byproducts that our body absorbs. This is a whole new...
Okay. We're going to come right back. We're going to come right back. More with Dean Sessions, universalmodel.com. Kate gets you 20% off today, by the way. Be right back. Kate Dalley Show.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Back, Kate Dalley Show. Got an important question that you really need to pay attention to this answer coming up right now. Really stop and if you're driving, just pull over for a second and think about what is about to be said, because this is very, very vital and important, I think, for all of us. Before we go there, I just wanted to mention there's a new product on my sponsor list, and it's all about remineralizing your teeth. And we're talking about minerals. We're talking about all kinds of things. We'll talk about salt, hopefully, still, and shove that into the show today, and also the flood. All of these things, but I just wanted to mention that because the best thing you could do right now is get healthy, remineralize your teeth instead of heading off to the dentist for whatever answer they give you, which is usually going to be, you know, those answers. Make sure that you do this first, remineralize and whiten your teeth naturally, and do it with the God-given minerals that we have for that purpose. Okay. And that link is right. It's Living Well. They're awesome. And they do an awesome product. And it works fast, and you'll love me for this one. Go right to my sponsor page, katedalleyradio.com, and take advantage of that. You're going to get savings when you order with the code Kate. So, okay, I'm back here with Dean, and I'm going to ask you this question. I sure want everyone to pay attention because I think this is so big. Sure. So, was the flood the flood of Noah? Okay, Noah's the flood that we all know. If you read Scripture, was that all about destruction?
Very good question. Matter of fact, the universal flood happened at 2345 BC. This is something that we document through multiple sciences and in the universal model. It's a very easy number, 2345 BC. So when this flood took place, and we have a lot to talk about it, it was not just a destructive event. Okay. This was the greatest creative event since the earth was originally formed. And let me explain why. In the universal flood, we demonstrate in the flood chapter over 250 pages, just one chapter in volume 1. Okay. And we have 13 marks of the flood. Every one of these subchapters is a mark, and they all have multiple evidences in them. There's over 100 evidences demonstrating the flood was a real event, covered the entire earth, all the mountains at one time in 2345 BC. Now, here's the answer to your question. At the very end of this chapter, we explain that when the flood took place, this is how all the ores were made. Ores are where we melt the rock and we separate out the copper from the various different ores. Sometimes there's silver mixed in with it and so forth. But our copper is extremely important because look at our house and the electricity we have.
Our bodies.
How copper is used.
Our bodies. And that's the master mineral that tells the other minerals what to do. And it's been taken out of our food supply since the 30s. So copper.
That's an important part too. But what I wanted to get in was I want to show you how we would not have modern technology today without the flood. See, the Lord knew in these days, these are called the latter days that we're in, that things were going to be sped up. And the way they got sped up is through modern technology. Technology is real. If I use this phone one time out of 50 and it only worked one time, how long will we keep our phone?
Right.
Well, we wouldn't keep it. All right. It has to work every single time. And that's because it's real. Okay. Right. That's what modern science is not. They say the flood did not happen. And in the universal model, we demonstrate that the flood actually happened. Now, here's the truth. Not only is the copper made, but all the precious metals, the way we're talking on a phone right now, all this technology and computers, you have to have all these metals. We also have to run electricity through these things, the computer and the phones and so forth. Guess where that electricity comes from? It comes from the oil, the coal, and the gas that was formed in the flood. We have scientists that back 50 years ago figured out how to make coal. And I have it all illustrated and demonstrated in here in the universal model. And we show how the oil was made. We show how coal was made. We show how natural gas is made. Right now, it's on the bottom of the ocean. Tons of areas. The natural gas and methane, it's coming from the microbes, their byproducts, okay? All this is demonstrated. We have the science behind showing all these ores and these different substances to make energy. Without those, we wouldn't have, you and I could not talk. You know, we're in completely different areas of the world right now. But we're able to use this modern technology because of all of the precious metals and all the energy that came from the flood.
What a different way to think about it. Because when we see the flood, we think punishment. We also think destruction, but truly it was about acceleration. That's what gave us what we've got today, right? So it's a different way of also thinking about it. A creative event. I love that. Yeah.
Because all of the formation around my house right now, I look out my windows and I see mountains. I can tell you exactly how those mountains are formed because when you understand the universal flood. All the sediment around me came from the flood. A lot of it's sandstone.
Yeah.
We know how sandstone is actually made because we make it.
Right.
Okay. And the different colors, you have pure quartz is white. By the way, if you go to Florida, there's tons of beaches that have all this white sand.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
White sand. Okay. Where's the mountain that modern geologists say it eroded from? What mountain is pure white?
You're right. You're right.
Clear. Just a big quartz crystal mountain. It doesn't exist.
Great point.
There's no mountain that all these sands all over the world, even so we have sands from around the world and we show microscopic pictures of them in the book.
Yeah.
And we actually show how this sand was made.
Well, look at Hawaii. They've got black sand. They've got pink sand. They've got all different colors. Yeah.
It's homogeneous. And the scientists know this, but they won't talk about it. They know that you have only heterogeneous. This is multiple. See, in a real erosion, okay, over millions of years, which did not happen, but in real erosion, just in the last couple thousand years, a river will break up all the rocks around it and they get smaller and smaller and smaller. And so your sand has all these different types of minerals in there. That's called heterogeneous sand. That's not what most sands are. They're homogeneous. They're, for example, here in Utah, you have what they call the pink sandstones, right?
Right.
So this is a recreational area you go to. It's actually more orange.
Yeah.
But it's pure quartz crystals, and the orange pinkness that's connected to it came from it's a biology stain. It's biology. It's microbes that were in the water that colored that. So this is critical in understanding the sand dunes around the world. They just don't turn into sandstone.
Right. So when you're looking at the Grand Canyon, you're not just looking at a beautiful specimen of nature. You're looking at levels, right? Packed levels, all different, right? That actually tell us a story about the flood.
Absolutely. This is real important. No other book in the world except for the Universal Model book can explain and prove to you, because I have the quotes in there. And by the way, the words that are in quotes are blue words.
Okay.
And all the regular text is black words. And so we distinguish between what the scientists are saying and what the Universal Model is saying. So it's very clear. And here's the important part. In the Grand Canyon, you won't find a bone of anything. Now, understand, this is millions, hundreds of millions, even a billion years old, all these layers, okay? But there's no bones. And guess what else there's none? There's no petrified wood. The most abundant fossil on the entire surface of the earth is petrified wood, and there's no layers of petrified wood. There's no layers that we have salt. They think the ocean came in and went back out 7 different times to make all these layers. Well, what does the ocean waters have in it?
Salt.
Why is
Yeah.
there no salt in any of the layers? There's no oil in any of the layers of the
Right.
Grand Canyon. There's no coal
You're
in any
right.
of the layers of the Grand Canyon. Yeah, I know we're right.
Oh my gosh, I love this. See, I told you guys today you would have these big aha moments when you're going, oh my gosh, the examples we've been giving don't quite make sense. And I love what you're
No.
saying because it finally makes sense.
Without the flood, you'll never understand geology. Ever, ever, ever.
Wow.
But
Wow.
with it all makes sense, like you're saying.
Yeah.
If you got another caller,
Yeah. You know what? We're going to
go.
go to a break. We'll come right back for the last segment. If you want to get a call in, a quick call, make sure it's quick, and I'll take it. 888-673-1450 if you're listening in the afternoon. Live radio. Be right back on the Kate Dalley Show. You can get this podcast at katedalleyradio.com. I'll be right back with Dean Sessions, Universal Model.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Show. This is the last segment. If you've got a burning question for Dean Sessions of Universal Model, talking science today, and what's true about science. And, we've been fed a lot of stuff on science, and not all of it's junk science out there. But I love the truths that Dean Sessions brings to the table because things really start to make sense, don't they? 888-673-1450. You can still call in and get a question in, hopefully. 888-673-1450. Also, mypillow.com for Mother's Day gifts. They're doing an 80% off with the code Kate. Might as well take advantage of it. MyPillow.com, wonderful gifts. You should go see what's new, too. He's added, Mike Lindell just came on the show, and he's added a bunch of things that you're going to get 80% off on, so code Kate. All right, Dean, coming back, let's talk the difference between wisdom and knowledge. I love this.
Yeah, so this is a fundamental concept that deals with science, but also all other areas of life. It doesn't matter what you're thinking or reading about. But we know intuitively that knowledge and wisdom are different things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But they're interconnected.
Right.
But they're interconnected. And we never found in any book anywhere someone defining simply. When I say definition, I'm talking one sentence. Okay. Like truth is knowledge of what is, was, and will be. Mm-hmm. That's a definition of what truth is. Okay. And you won't find that if you take a philosophy class. They just go on and on and on talking about truth, but they never define it. Mm-hmm. Okay. The same is with knowledge and wisdom. It turns out both these words refer to 6 questions. All questions we could ask come down to what, where, when, and who, and how and why. The first 4 questions, what, where, when, and who, are all physical. Okay?
Okay.
Those are things that are dealing with our physical world. There's also an intangible part of our world, and those are the how and why questions.
Okay.
How and why is an explanation, and that is different than a description, which is what, where, when, and who. Okay. Mm-hmm. You understand knowledge. You comprehend wisdom.
I love that.
When you bring knowledge and wisdom together by understanding these 6 questions, you now increase in intelligence, and we become more like God because he has all intelligence.
I love that. It's just gaining that ground of wisdom, the grounding of wisdom. Okay, I have a caller for you. Make it fast, caller.
Dean, how many pole shifts have there been? My information is 11.
Okay.
Pole shifts are a very
Thank you.
interesting thing.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those things that comes up in science quite a bit. The reason that the pole shifts are not fully understood is because of the flood. The flood only happened 4,370 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem we have is when the flood happened, and it created all these layers we now see on the Earth. It also took our continents, which were all together, with something called Pangea. Modern science does understand this, that it was called a supercontinent called Pangea. This was before the flood.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is all explained in the world history model. And when the flood, by the way, we have the mechanism of the flood. Okay. How that actually happened. There was a comet that came close by the Earth. There's nothing on the Earth big enough. There's no force here to cause the continents to split apart. Okay. But what happened was a comet, which they go in ellipses, which means they come close by the Earth and then they around the sun, and then they go farther away. We actually have long-term comets now, and we confirm this in the universal model. Over 12,000 years, that one comet came by the Earth and then went away, and that's its period is 12,000 years. So 4,370 years ago for the flood, and that comet coming by and not coming back again. See, Halley's Comet came by every 78 years or something like that. And so you would keep having a flood over and over. But that's all they knew was short-term comets. Now we have these long-term comets, which is clearly, it didn't hit the Earth. The celestial body just came close by the Earth, and it caused the Earth's rotation to slow down because it perturbed the Earth's rotation. And you only had to go out of the 8,000 miles across, the crust only had to fall down a couple miles. And then the water inside the Earth came out. And this was the mechanism of all the mountains getting covered with water. Once this happened and the comet went away, then the Earth sped back up. It's kind of like putting a rock on a string and swing it around your head, right?
Yes.
What happens is if you slow down your swinging it, the rock falls, and that's what the crust did. It fell down when the Earth's rotation slowed down. But then we have a mechanism. I don't have time now to explain it. It's in volume 3. We know exactly how, and science has proven this, of why the Earth sped back up. There's an external energy source coming to the Earth, and this external energy source sped the Earth back up. And when that happened, then the supercontinent broke up as it spread all around the Earth. And they know this. This is back to your caller's question.
Right.
Under the mid-Atlantic ridge, this is where all of these, it's like a zipper going underneath the ocean there. You can see how that's a basaltic crust. Underneath the ocean, there's a crust, but it's basalt.
Okay.
Basalt is only made under several miles of water, and it's a quartz rock that has magnesium in it and iron in it.
Wow.
Okay, and these basalts are made only under. By the way, when you have it up on the crust of the Earth today, a piece of basalt, they think that basalt was volcanic. Well, just go get a piece of basalt, put it under a torch and melt it. Guess what it turns into?
Let me guess.
Glass.
Wow.
And we have pictures of this in the book. You can easily do this yourself and see this. That's why the Earth was not all melted, okay? These areas, anyway, where it split apart there, and he was talking about this shift, okay, the polar shift. That's where they see these, and they're all confused because of the time frame when this happened and how quickly it all happened.
Right.
But I forgot to finish telling you about Earth tide. Earth tide is something that the not only does the tides of the ocean go in and out, but also the tides of the crust. Remember, the crust is floating on the Earth, on water. So this every day in the average United States state goes up and down about a foot. Down in the equator, it's about 2 feet.
Okay.
The ground goes up and then goes down in 24 hours in one day. Now, we can't see this with our eyes because it's slow and everything, all the buildings and mountains around you are going up and down. But this GPS satellites measure down to a millimeter, and they watch this very closely for the last 25 years.
Oh, wow.
So this Earth tide going up and down is where we get the constant movement of the crust making these earthquakes and pressure builds and builds, and then we have a fault line and poof.
Wow. So, okay, we're going to be having Dean back So you'll be back soon, yes?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes, we will come back.
Okay. And of course, in a few weeks, maybe, or maybe 3 weeks, we'll have him back and he can keep going. Any thought you needed to add? By the way, be faithful, be fearless. Any thought? 10 seconds?
Just thanks for having me.
Yeah, you got it.
Universalmodel.com.
Universalmodel.com. Use the code